Hi guys, how are you? It's me. This is the tutorial for the gardener's gown. It is so freaking cute. It is the most beautiful, flattering, simple dress that has so many variations. The pattern is 36 pages. I have it here. So you're gonna need to print that. You're gonna need fabric. Yardage is listed on the pattern, however much you need. All the materials are on the pattern. Everything you need to know is written on the pattern. So refer to that as much as you need. This is more of a visual guide to all of the steps that make this dress what it is. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for everything. Make sure if you make the dress, share it on socials or email me, whatever you want to do. My email is Madie@dumpsterslayer.com. It's also on my website, dumpsterslayer.com. Or you can share it online and use the hashtag gardener's gown, and then I can see it. So this tutorial is going to be everything for everything. It's going to have the pleats for the shoulders. It's going to have the elastic bodice. It's going to be the princess length, elastic neckline, inlaid pockets, all of that. So that's the most intense version of the dress you can do. You can do no elastic bodice. You can do no elastic on the sleeve cuffs. You can do short, or you can do shirt length. And you can do pockets or no pockets. So you have a lot of options here. Take what you will from this tutorial that applies to what you're creating. If you aren't subscribed on here, please subscribe to YouTube. And I'm so excited. So yay! Thanks for being here. Okay, let's start the tutorial. Bye. For starters, we're gonna iron out all of the pattern pieces that we have cut out because it just makes everything look crispy and delicious, so do it. Then we're going to start by marking all of the notches for the pleats on our shoulders. If you're not doing the pleats, skip all of this. You don't need to know any of this baloney. If you are doing the pleats, you're gonna start by marking all of those notches onto both of your sleeve fabric pieces at the top where the shoulders are. Each notch is an inch apart, and there's 2 inches per pleat. So what we're gonna do is, if there's 3 notches in front of us, the center notch is the 1 inch mark in between the 2 inch marks. You're going to fold and pinch at that 1 inch, and you're gonna make it meet the 2 inch mark. So you're going to pinch the 1 inch, fold to the 2 inch. When starting your folds, you're going to want to start on one sleeve from right to left and on the other sleeve from left to right. This is because when we attach the sleeves to our dress body, we want both of the pleats going in the same direction toward the back of the dress. I recommend pinning horizontally to your fabric so that you can pull those pins out as you stitch really seamlessly. Next, we're gonna head over to the sewing machine and do a really simple non-removing basting stitch. I don't know what that's called, but I'm calling it the lazy basting stitch. We're just going to stitch extremely close to the edge of our fabric, about an 1/8 inch in, to slowly stitch over those pleats. You're gonna wanna go in the direction of the fold rather than against the fold. When you're done stitching both sleeves pleats into place, you're then going to iron everything out flat and make sure everything looks good. Next, we're gonna make all of our elastic bodice stitching marks. The reason we do this on the front side of our fabric is because the elastic stitching goes in the bobbin. We don't want it to be visible, and when you're stitching, you're gonna stitch with the pretty side of your fabric facing up, and you're gonna be following along those lines so that the elastic bodice stitching goes on the bottom. So you need the lines on the top. All of the marks for the elastic bodice stitching are on your pattern pieces, and all of the measurements, in case you wanna double check, are all on the pattern. Then we're gonna load in our elastic bobbin to start our elastic bodice stitching. Once everything's good to go, you're gonna start stitching along those lines. Make sure to leave a long tail at both ends rather than forward or back stitching, because you're going to tie knots at the end with the elastic stitching on both sides of each row. Once you're done stitching, you're going to make sure everything looks good and is all straight and good to go, and then you're going to stretch it, make sure it stretches well, and then you're going to tie those knots at the end of all of your stitching rows. Next, we're going to start by clipping the tops of our shoulders together. This is just going to begin the assembly of the dress. Once you've clipped everything, you're going to straight stitch on that and also overlock it or zigzag stitch. Next, we're going to start by clipping on our sleeves. So when you're doing this, make sure that your pleats are going in the right direction and that they're all flat, because sometimes they can get a little bit folded up. So make sure that everything is flat and looks good. Because this dress is both sides are symmetrical, there's not really a front and back. You don't necessarily have to worry about which direction the pleats are going at this point, as long as they are both going in the same direction. Once everything looks good, you're gonna start by heading over to the sewing machine and straight stitching that all into place and then overlocking it or zigzag stitching. Also make sure as you're sewing over the elastic bodice pieces that you're not getting any bunching under there and that you have it as flat as you can get it. We're then moving on to attaching our pockets. I made mine yellow because I got a sunshine. Sorry. We're going to start by clipping those on into place. There's a notch on your pattern piece that's about 4 inches down from your last elastic stitch. You're going to clip all 4 pockets into place. And if you're using a fabric that's only on one side, like a pattern or something, make sure that you have pretty sides facing in. Then we're going to straight stitch and overlock that into place in all 4 spots of our dress. When you're done straight stitching everything, you're then going to iron it out, make sure everything looks good, and then you're going to top stitch on the dress side of your pockets. What this means is I'm stitching as close as I can to that pocket, right on the side of my dress fabric, not on my pocket fabric. And I'm going to make sure that if I have an overlock or a zigzag stitch underneath, that it's pressed toward the dress body, not toward the pocket. So that's getting in that top stitch, and it's just going to make sure that everything lays flat and nicely. Make sure you do all of these steps for all 4 pocket pieces. When you're done, it should look a little something like this. Next, we're going to be moving on to the side seams of our entire dress. So for this, it feels a little crazy because we have a lot of things to line up right now. So I'm going to give you guys a little step by step. I start by lining up all of my elastic bodice stitching rows first. So I start with the very bottom one, and then I move up from there. Then I go to the armpit, and then I go through all the way to the arm. Then I jump back down and go to the pocket, line up all the pockets, then clip around the pocket, and then down the dress. This ensures that everything is lined up that has to be lined up. And if there is, for some reason, any excess fabric, it happens. We're learning, we're growing. All that excess fabric will be pushed to the hems and not mess up all of the things that need to line up. I started sewing from my sleeve all the way down the body. When you get to the pockets, I like to stop, go a little bit down on the pocket, then completely pivot my fabric, slowly go around the entirety of the pocket, and then pivot my sewing fabric again and go straight down to the bottom hem of the dress. When you're done with that, you're going to overlock and then move on to the hem. All right, we're moving on to the hem of our sleeves. So what we're gonna do is do a 1/2 inch rolled hem. You can use a rolled hem presser foot. I personally always have a really hard time using these, and it never works out right for me. That's just my personal preference. If you wanna use a rolled hem presser foot, please do that. You're then going to stitch that into place as close as you can to the top on the wrong sides of the fabric, so that when you flip it to the other side, it just has a really pretty small stitch going around the entire hem of both sleeves. And once you're done doing that, you can iron it flat. Next, we're going to add the elastic neckline. So for the neckline, I have a little calculation in the pattern, so you can go ahead and figure out the correct measurement for you and kind of play around with the shapes. Know it's going to stretch just a little bit. Then you're going to cut out your elastic, and then you're going to create a loop. Make sure that there's no twists in the loop, and you're going to sew a box X stitch connecting the 2 ends of your elastic. Once you've got everything sewn together, you're going to take your loop and put it around the wrong sides of your dress's body's neck. And then we're going to slowly stretch and clip. If you don't like doing the elastic neck this way, you don't have to do it at all. You can sew a 1/2 inch tube and then feed a 1/2 inch elastic through with a safety pin. So we're just going to put this around our dress's neck. We're going to pull the elastic slowly and clip into place, and do that around the whole neckline until we have gathered all the fabric. And then we're going to head over to our overlocker machine and slowly stretch the elastic while simultaneously sewing it. You can do this also without an overlocker. You can do it with a zigzag or a straight stitch. And you're just going to make sure that you're stretching the elastic to meet the length of the fabric without stretching the fabric. Once the elastic is properly attached around the neckline, I recommend trying it on now, making sure that you like the way it fits, making sure everything is good to go. And then you're going to take that over to your standard sewing machine. You're going to fold over and stretch at the same time, just like we did with the overlocker. And then you're going to straight stitch as close as you can to the edge of that elastic to conceal it. It's kind of going to look like a hem, and that elastic's going to be tucked up in there. Once you're done with the neckline, we're going to move on to the rolled hem at the very bottom of our dress. This is also going to be a 1/2 inch. So you're just going to repeat the same process you did with making a rolled hem on the sleeves on the bottom of the dress. If you want to add a ruffle, now is the time. Lastly, we're going to be adding the elastic stitching to our sleeves. So if you're not doing that, skip this step also. But if you are doing this, you're going to straight stitch a 1/4 inch with the elastic thread from your rolled hem. So a 1/4 inch from your rolled hem stitch, we're going to stitch our first row of elastic stitching. Then we're going to repeat that on a second row, a 1/4 inch up from that previous elastic stitch. So when you're done, you should have 2 rows of elastic stitching on both sleeves. And then we're going to leave a long tail at the end of both of those rows of elastic stitching to tie knots so that we can finish up the garment. And that is it. We did it, guys. This dress, this one in particular is actually my favorite one I've made thus far. Remember, if you share it online, tag #gardenersgown or tag me. Also, if you don't have social media, you can also email me, Madie@dunserslayer.com. This fabric is from Little House of Cottons. I bought this fabric from one of my local sewing shops because it was just adorable. If you can't see, it has like chickens and mushrooms and flowers and strawberries and like little RV houses on it. It's so, oh wait, it's probably a chicken coop. I don't know. It's so cute though. And then I looked up the brand because I wanted to tag them in a post I made with this dress. And it's this woman, I can't remember her name, but she is a children's book author, or I think she's just a book, she's a children's book illustrator. And she turns her drawings into also fabric that's 100% organic cotton. And it is so cute. It is so fabulous. And I just wanted to shout out Little House of Cottons because it made making this dress like such a joy. And it felt so right for it to be the gardener's gown to have chickens all over it and little mushrooms and flowers, because now I feel like a little forest fairy in the garden. Whee! Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for creating with your two hands. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.